Hey everybody, welcome back to the live stream. Today I'm here with Yuly. We try to do this every week. We tend to miss most weeks, but we still try to do it. And today we're going to talk about Turo per usual. For anybody that has any questions, comments below, we try to read off as many as we possibly can and answer them to the best of our abilities. I've been in Turo for I kind of lost track of time. I think it's been 2.5 years. Started with one car, slowly grew it up to 23 that I personally own. Recently merged with another company. So combined, we have 178. I want to say is probably the number. So my daily operation is pretty much just managing and still getting cars ready and stuff when the team gets bogged down. But Yuli, what tell us about you?
Oh, I have like 550 cars now or like 3. Trying to
Great.
add 2, 3 more. But yeah, it's been a slow progress between trying to do that, trying to build an app for it, trying to just do a million things at once. So hopefully I can just put aside some time and add those 2, 3 cars on within the next week or so. I know I keep saying that, but that's the hope.
Have you talked about your app much? I feel like we haven't had too much conversation, maybe a little bit, but tell people about what you're working on.
Yeah, so basically is so when I started doing it, even with just one car, because I don't handle everything myself, I have family members that assist and I pay them to do like the actual picking up and washing of the cars. Um, it was harder to, or even if I guess if I was doing it myself, it would still be difficult to keep track of everything. If you really want to do it the right way, like what Max and I are always talking about, where you want to keep track of all your expenses and everything, you really have to like keep track of everything. And so, I mean, the way that most people are doing it is just putting everything on a spreadsheet. I mean, if you're doing it, I guess there's a lot of people that aren't doing anything. But those that are just like putting it on a spreadsheet. And even that can become tedious. I can't even imagine if just one, two, 3 cars is a mess. I can't even imagine, 20, 50, let alone like 100 plus. So I quickly started thinking and from the beginning of like a way to start, you know, making that more efficient. And so basically what I started doing is so right now I have it set up where I'm using it for myself and I'm building it as I go along. So basically right now the data that Turo provides you, instead of me having to manually enter like all of the Turo data, the reservations, the amount, the earnings and everything, I basically have that being pulled in from that spreadsheet that Turo gives you. And so there's no manual entry. And I can have that, I have that automated as well. So I don't even have to go out to the website and export it. I have that automated and I can set it up to do right now it's daily, but I can set that up to do it like every, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever. So basically the spreadsheet comes in and that data gets pulled into a database that I created. And then I created an app that uses that database. So, and then a few days ago, actually, because you and I talked, Max, about the other data that comes in through emails. We
Mhm.
won't go into certain details, but just
We could
there's
talk.
a
We
ton of
could talk
other
about it a
data
little
that
bit for
comes
sure.
in.
Oh, nice.
So there's a ton of data that comes in. So like when you download the data from Turo, the only thing you're getting is the earnings. So like you get reservation, you get guest, you get how much they paid, the breakdown of how much you got paid for, extras, for gas, for all those things. But it doesn't give you things like, for example, when you get a booking, the email tells you, "Oh, you got a booking. Here's the location. Here's the guest information," and it also gives you like the extras. If there's any extras that if if they ordered a car seat for their trip and something like that. So what I've done aside from pulling the mostly financial data into the database, I'm also pulling those emails as they come in. And so it's going into this same database. And so now I'm able to pull up my app and see, for example, hey, I have these 5 trips coming up, and this one 2 days from now is requiring a car seat. So first of all, you don't forget. You know where maybe your car seat somewhere else. Maybe you took. So it basically just lets you stay on top of that. You're also able to keep track in your database of like when was the booking done, when was it canceled. You're able to just have a lot of more data that you don't have just by looking at Turo. Now I do know that when if you're a power host, it's a little bit different. I think as a power host, you have access to a ton of other like data that you can download and dashboards and all these things. So obviously, once I have access to that, um, some of these things I may be able to just grab right from Turo and then just again import it into my database. But right now I'm dealing with like the basic stuff they give me. So
Mhm. I think that's cool, and that's something that even bigger hosts don't really do. They don't really get too innovative. And innovative doesn't mean you have to have something like that. It can even be something in your systems or how you're doing things. But I think you kind of have to. I think as you grow, or even if you don't, just having successful business means innovating to the best of your abilities. Just because there's so much easier ways, you can make it so much easier. You can make it so much faster. You can make so much more money, and innovation is kind of the core to that. So it's cool that you're doing that at kind of the beginning stages of a business when there's people that have really, really big businesses and they learn that they should have innovated a long time ago, but sometimes it can be too late, or people get stuck. So that's pretty cool that you do that. Let's take a look at. We have one guy that put in an interesting comment. The first one by Kevin. Just take a look at that one.
So Kevin says buying a 1999 pickup truck to put on Turo has classic. I am in Hartford, Connecticut. This is for people who need to move or landscapers.
I don't know anything about Turo Classics. I wonder if they even have. I do my basic knowledge off of Turo Car Calculator for the Turo rentals, and then private's a lot different. But I wonder if they have information. I don't. They don't have information on the classics because they don't base it on year. They base it on specific models. But I wonder if that skews anything, because if you have the classics and it's the same, like a classic something, and it's just like there's the same model of a newer car, I wonder if the data gets put together for those two. Um, hmm, that's interesting. But
I
that's
wonder if
that's
you can use the Turex tool to
oh for
see.
sure, oh for sure. Do you have Turux downloaded, right?
I used it a few months ago and then I canceled it, but now in the next day or so I'll be adding it back on again so that I can record that video that's going to go through and kind of like
Mm,
show how to use it. And, but even in Turo, if you just search to see what's available. But I wonder though, because if it's a class, I mean, classics are typically like you barely want to touch, but right. But he's saying that it's for to move or to use for, well, it's a
yeah.
1999. That's not considered,
I wonder what the
right?
classic. I wonder what the classic classifications are. What are
Yeah, we'll have to
Turo's
search that.
class? And I would be, I don't know, classic cars in general are kind of like, they can have trouble for sure, and parts can be hard to find at times. But then pickup trucks in general, I'm not a huge fan of just because of how people use them. If you're just, you don't really care about it too much, that's great. But for the people that do care about their cars and don't want to beat up, pickup trucks are probably the last vehicle that I'd have, just because of how much wear and tear they're going to go through. Let's see.
So it says that for classic or specialty, they have to be 25 years or older.
Mm,
Okay.
that's just
So
on the cusp. They got like the
yeah,
newest classic car that they possibly could. I wonder what the
have
oldest car
a
you can have on
fair
Turo.
market value. Special
To
consideration vehicles more than 12 years old, but less than 25.
Up to 85,000. So that's not. I mean, they're not very expensive, because I know on regular it's up to 200,000, and you can waive that with, you kind of have to like do some special things. But interesting. So it's lowered. I mean, it's a third, a half of what it is um for regular, which is, yeah, it's 200,000 right here. That's crazy. That's interesting. How do you feel? What do you think about classics?
No, I mean, I think it's great, just like exotics. If there's a market out there, and my dad would love to have to be in the business of buying them and fixing them up, and yeah, I think if there's, I'm not sure about this because of like but I would say for Kevin, probably just give them a call, and see what they say about that. They actually even have it on there. Um, to give them a call to confirm the eligibility. So
Yeah, let's see. Here are some. Here's the main page for the Turo Classics. $366 a day. Wow. Ford Mustang. Look at this. I don't know too much about classic cars, but I just can't imagine that going out for $358 a day. That seems crazy. I can imagine that there's probably some sort of like minimum age on classics. It's probably, I'd guess, I don't know, 25. Ooh,
probably
dang, nothing available. Let's see. Wow, no classics. I
they're
wonder.
actually booked.
Yeah, maybe. Let me see if let's see something. Because my account, obviously, I'm only 24, but maybe you have to be 25. See something.
It's funny.
And they do that for a lot of cars. Like there's tier levels to it. There's 25, there's 30. I think that's it. Let's take a look at looking at Phoenix now on a different account. All right. Oh, here we go. Look at this.
Oh wow, look at that.
C10. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. It's like a Hummer each one. Wow. There's only 4 cars. It's probably since the dates. It's something about Arizona right now. We have 0 cars. We're completely booked. Ooh, an old speedster. That thing's pretty cool. Little Porsche. Benz. Okay, so there's a couple cars. Land Rover Defender, Firebird. Honestly, for Phoenix and how big the market is, I'm surprised at how little amount of classics there are. I would have thought there would have been a ton more, and it could be the dates. Maybe let's try to go out in the summer. So in May, take a look. Yeah, same
Well,
amount. So all in Phoenix is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's seven classics total in
well, I think
all
you
of.
think. I mean, don't you think maybe it's because people that have those, they kind of don't want them touched. Like I
Yeah,
said, they want to
yeah.
keep them in like their next to their Bentley and across from their Lamborghini, and they just want them all laid out in their garage and not
Oh, for
touched.
sure. Yeah, people that typically own classics don't like to share them much. So I wonder if people own these and put them on here, or if they bought them specifically for it. I don't know if it'd be. I don't know how much demand there'd be for classics specifically, but maybe there is. Maybe it's a untapped hidden market. I'm looking at some of the bookings right now to see if there's any demand. I'm not seeing any bookings on
Put up
on.
here, we're big
Mm.
fans of Max and Yuly.
Oh, that's
EV Access, is
Justin.
that Justin?
Yeah, that's Justin. So he has a fleet here in Tempe. Actually, he's probably 8 minutes away from our office, and he is like all Teslas, EV Access, obviously electric vehicle. He has so 200 mostly Teslas. He probably has like 20 gas cars. He's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. So I've done a couple of interviews of him on my channel, and we just kind of I don't know.
Yeah,
We
they're
just have
awesome.
crazy random conversations, but somewhat insightful to some. Um, but does anybody have any questions or troubles they're having right now with the Turo market, or maybe their profile or anything?
So we don't have that many people in yet. You know, it's because they're usually like, oh, these guys are not showing up. In our
Yeah.
defense, guys, you know, Max, as you can see, he's super busy. He's still there in the in your new office.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. So I do have a few. I just had a few comments lined up, a few questions that people put in the comments. But before we do that, I have. How do you? I'm curious because this came up actually with me recently.
Mhm.
Um, how do you handle when your car gets towed? Like, do you call and then you have to go get it out, or if it if it runs into an issue and you have to send somebody out, whether it's roadside, do you call Turo automatically? Do you handle it yourself?
We always call Turo automatically. We typically don't like to tow our own stuff, and from there, it kind of depends on where it is and what happened. So if it's out of state, we'll never try to tow it ourselves. A lot of the stuff that happens usually isn't our fault, that we've seen at least, and a lot of our stuff doesn't go super far out of state, so we haven't had this happen very much. But we'll typically call Toro and have them tow it. If it's in like a tow yard or something, we have to get it out. it depends on how much we have going on. Sometimes we'll have Turo do it, but it just takes a long time because they have to go through all the steps and the processes. So if it's like close-ish to us, if it's within like 30 minutes to an hour, we'll go out, we'll get it released, and then have Turo tow it. And then very rarely we'll use our AAA. We probably used it maybe 4 times this year out of the, I guess it's quite a bit, maybe 4 times out of the 10 tows. Um, and for private rentals, we'll do AAA, or with our insurance, we have tows that I just
You're
just
muted.
have something come up.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, can you hear me?
And so does
Uh,
Turo? Now you're back. Yeah. This and the towing that you have through your insurance is for both Turo and private, right?
yeah. They'll do Turo and private.
And does Turo charge you the $200 fee that they say they charge?
I haven't been charged for a tow yet, just because all this stuff hasn't been our fault. But I think they just charge. Are you saying if it's like not our fault, they charge us $200?
No, I guess I saw that if it's based on like for maintenance reasons, then they'll charge you,
Oh,
right? But like if it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
guest's
If
fault,
it's
then they won't. Has that been your experience when it's the guest's fault? They have.
that's my understanding, but again, we haven't had anything towed. But yeah, you're right. It should be if we did something wrong, then we're gonna pay for the tow, and if they did something wrong, they're gonna pay for the tow. And when it's our fault, um, I guess the times that it was our fault, we did AAA it, but you can go through Turo. I don't know how the pricing works, and I don't think they do either because it's not technically through Turo. They have a third party company that does it. So there's really not a way for you to get a quote or pricing. I think I've tried to get it before. So in instances like that, we just use AAA because we're already paying for it, and it doesn't cost us anything for our tows up to a certain amount. So we always use those. Did you just have an instance though that happened to you? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and I'll bring this up because this is actually it. How often do you have battery issues with the cold shocking them, and what do you do in case the vehicle is
Uh,
rented? Yeah,
oh
so
yeah,
both
that's a
my
good one.
cars within 2 days, two of my cars with
Oh,
yes, because the other one was not on a trip, and had not been taken. Apparently, they have been taken to cold temperatures, and one was one afternoon, and the very next day, the other one both died on the guest. Just wouldn't start. One of them was able to start, and it kept starting, so that one was fine. I didn't have to do anything with it, but I did have to call Turo. They were already getting the first tow company they were sending out there sent an estimated of 7 hours wait, and I'm like,
wow.
what? Like, is this real? And so I called them back. They sent another one because I called that company and they said, yeah, I would have them call another. I only have one driver and he's like 3 hours away right now. So, and then I called them back. But then while we were trying to secure the second time, the guest called and said, hey, it started. And so what happened was, and the crazy thing is that I had just gotten an alert the day before when we were cleaning it. It had
Mhm.
sent me an alert saying that it had low battery. So I reached out to my brother and I said, hey, and it was, I guess, because you leave the radio on or whatever. And coincidentally, the next day, the guest left the car on while they went to Publix. Somebody sat in the car, and because it's been cool, they didn't have it on, and it drained the battery. And so,
Mhm.
but thankfully, like I said, that one it would start again, so it was fine. But the other one, the very next day, just would not. It left them stranded twice, and I had to go out, get the
Wow.
car. Yeah, it was crazy. And the
Wow.
only thing I can link, I mean, the car's a 2023 and the other one's a 2020.
Damn.
So the 2023 is the one that died completely. And the only thing I can think of is that it was taken to recently on the one of the last one or two trips was taken to like somewhere out of state, colder states. So
Yeah,
have
yeah.
you had that happen? Like, have you had any battery
Oh,
issues?
oh yeah. That's now that I'm kind of recollecting as you're telling this story, I'm like remembering all the times that we've actually had battery issues, and that is like the one thing that typically happens. So Turo can always go there and get it jumped. We have had Turo do it once, maybe twice, and I don't remember getting charged. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to my bank account, or maybe the Turo app because they probably take it out of your earnings, I assume, or they take it out of your bank account. I assume earnings. Earnings would make a lot more sense, but I don't remember that. And it was technically our fault because there's nothing a guest could do unless they like left it on, but there's no way to like prove something like that unless I guess a bounty could show that they've been like idling or something, which would charge it. So I and it doesn't show that like the lights were left on. So we had tow truck Turo because it was in Vegas. So they went out, they charged the battery, and I don't remember getting charged, but we could have, and I could have missed it. For stuff that happens here, and we just did one last week. And we've probably done in the 2.5, almost 3 years in the business, we've probably done about 10 batteries. And what we'll do, since we know how to change them, typically my brother does it, or one of our mechanics now. We'll get a battery and then they'll go out and actually change it. So that's usually the quicker process because like getting a tow, having it come back, and then changing the battery and then sending it back, it's just too much of a process. But if you can go do it there, because a battery replacement is typically on a regular car is a pretty easy process and probably takes like 20 to 30 minutes if you have the tools and kind of have a basic understanding. I mean, a YouTube video on how to do it. So it's really much easier to change it there than have it brought back. So if anybody's
What
having
have
the
you
same
done?
issue.
And what have you done in terms of like have the guests been understanding? Like have I'm pretty sure
Oh
some have.
yeah, yeah. They've been.
You're I think you so you're muted. Can you guys hear Max? Unless I lost my audio. Can someone in the chat let us know if you can still hear Max and I? You can't hear me. All right. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. Can you guys hear us? Okay, good. So I thought, okay, perfect. No, because he couldn't hear me, and so I thought everything just went down. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you all so much. Let's bring Max back on. Let's
Wow.
see. Uh,
Last
I
Yada, can you hear
think
me?
I oh, here we go.
Oh, you
Yep,
can hear
yep,
me? That's so weird. I don't know why my
yep.
audio cut out. Well, sometimes I'll get calls and the calls will cut out the audio, but sometimes they won't. So
Yeah, that's why
I
I put the phone on D&D. Actually, I turn off the Bluetooth so it doesn't take it off
oh
the computer.
yeah, mine will still mess it up. And I
Sure.
try not to put it on do not disturb just in case something important comes. Um what were we talking about? Batteries. Battery replacements or
And
something.
so have you ever given like the guests a refund if
Oh,
or like a day refund or something?
no, we never do because they're always very understanding. Batteries, I mean, it's never negligence. It's never something that we can control, or the guest can control. It's like if a battery goes out, it's gonna be very quick. Sometimes a battery will like be going out, it'll take like a couple hours or maybe a day at the most. Like I haven't really heard of that, but I'm sure it's possible. But like the typical thing that we see on the bouncy, like the battery will go to like yellow, which is like it's not doing very well, to red, which is it's completely gone within the matter of minutes. So when a battery dies, I don't know how it all works, but it usually dies very quickly. So the guests know. The guests never get mad. We always solve it very quickly for them. And again, it's just something that we can't control and they can't. So we just do the best we do the best in our abilities to try to solve it for them, and that's really it. That's what I can do.
Yeah, I still battle with like same thing with like leaving reviews. Like how many really bad reviews have you ever left? Do you typically like do you leave a public review or do you just maybe do, less stars?
For like bad things that happen to me.
Yeah, like a bad
Oh,
guest experience.
bad. We're we're 5 or 1. There's no 3. There's no 4. There's no 2. It's just too like the scale's too hard. So if the guest was like okay, they're like pretty good, they're gonna get a 5. But if they smoked in the car or if they were just like a terrible guest, and there's kind of different criteria for it. We don't really have like a super set criteria limit, which we probably should. It's 5 or 1. Like that's it. And very rarely will we leave a message. We'll typically put would not rent to this guest again. I don't want to give a ton of information or anything specific because I know that or assume that guests could probably get reviews taken down. And I wouldn't want that with one of ours because we're very picky on 1 stars. If somebody gets a 1 star, they deserve a 1 star. Like they should not have 5 stars. So yeah, we don't want to put too much information or else because we can call in, we can get reviews taken down if like they said something they shouldn't. It's against terms of service. So I don't really want to give people that option. If they deserve a 1 star, typically they really do deserve it.
Yeah, I kind of battle with that. I'm like, I mean, I've always kind of hated confrontation, and then especially if it's like a local guest, and you're like, do I just like leave it alone and just not, But then I feel like I should be doing a service for others by leaving. So yeah, I'm still kind of battling
Yeah,
with that.
but and
Um,
that's just it. It's like for us, we have people that'll do border runs, and it's not just border runs. Like they'll smoke in the car, they'll leave them completely trashed. And it's like for me, I would want to know. I would want to know what's happened to the past guests, so I don't have to make the same mistake. Because if somebody is doing that and they book my car, like I'm probably going to cancel it, or I'm going to call Turo and ask why they're still on the platform after they've gotten 1 or 2 or 3 1 stars. And Turo's they're decent at it. Like they'll typically kick people off with a 1 star if it's something like that. But there's times where they miss it. So um, yeah, I think it's just you just have to do the service to the people. You have to make sure that they understand what they're getting into before they make any commitments or something, or before it's too late and it happens to them and they're like, oh, I wish I would have known. So yeah, you got to be
I
you got to
guess
be
I
stern
battle
about
with
that.
like how much is worthy of what is worthy of like a one, you know, and
Yeah,
so that's kind of like because like yeah, everything you just mentioned, definitely they're trying to take your car to Mexico,
yeah,
um, but they left it a little too dirty. I mean, not enough to even like. I mean,
yeah.
like, okay, so I had this one experience recently where it actually got towed, but in that case, it is a big deal because really, if you think about it, now the trip that you charged, X amount for became probably almost maybe zero because by the time all the time you spent on the phone with Turo, the driving to the place, having to go get the car out of the thing, I mean, it when you if you were to account for your hourly, your time is valuable, you basically ended up with like a free trip if it's like a lower economy car, which is usually the ones you get more of these issues with. Um,
Always,
but
always.
then but then instead of like, oh, I'm gonna, that's it, definitely this is your fault. I kind of even felt bad for the person because I'm like, oh, it could happen to anyone. It got towed like just in one, in a community in a rental. Um, you know how communities like if you don't have the car registered, like they'll go and tow it. So then I kind of felt bad. But then there were a few other things and this is one where I've like really battled with like, but it still doesn't get to the point of like, oh, one, He
Yeah.
so the guest also left it kind of in his defense, he tried to actually clean the car, but left it all kind of wet inside. So it was like and then there was what seemed to be like gum is what I was told, like on the window, like a little bit of it, but like remnants of it. And then the final thing was that he also apparently lost the little Faraday bag,
What's that?
which I probably could have at least the little pouch for the where you put the key in to lock the
Oh,
signal
sure.
for the Turo
Yeah,
Go,
that
which is
happens.
$10. So I probably should have charged for that at the very least.
It depends on the
But
size of the
again,
reservation too, to be fair. Like if it's a
it's a
week or 2 week reservation, like
exactly. Yeah, I won't. I've literally like when I was washing one of my cars one time, stuck my hand under the seat and I literally stuck it into like what seemed like chocolate pudding.
ew.
And yeah, but
You
that's
sure
what
it's
you get
chocolate
when you
pudding?
have one of these. uh, I didn't taste it, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
no, but it's like what we talked about last time. It's that was for the Suburban, and so you expect that car to have things like, for example, it had one time it had like popcorn all over the place. They usually, I mean, I've had two trips already with two car seats for
Mm,
each. Like it's usually just one, but this one, both trips requested two car seats. So you know what you're
wow.
gonna kind of like expect in these type of cars. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so in that case, I think that was like a 32-day trip. So I'm not gonna like,
32
yeah, it
days?
wouldn't make sense.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had a bunch of
that's
those.
crazy. That's crazy.
I told you I had the longest one, and that was a 56-day trip. That was like a
Wow.
$3,000 trip, a little bit over
Holy
3,000
crap.
because of all the discounts and everything.
Holy crap. Do you want to hear my longest? I don't
What
know
was
if you
that?
do. They started
Oh,
the
well, because you
reservations.
have the low economy,
No,
and then
no, no, no,
they
no, 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 no. This is
six
this is a this
months.
is a nice this is one of our nicer cars. It's a VW
Ah,
Tiguan. I've talked about this in a couple lives. He's had it since, where is this? Gosh, this is so ridiculous. He's had it since,
I'm gonna bring
wait,
this up while you look for that. Kayla,
wow.
Kayla, I hope I'm saying that right. Says Max currently running through your private rental course. It's awesome. So thank you. Awesome.
Ah, I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you like it. Let me know if you have any notes. I'll put my email in here. If you have any notes or things you think it's missing, just put an email. All right, check this out. He's had it since, it might be before this, but this is just what it says. No, this is right. This is right. September 19th, 23. So October, November, December, January, February. So about 5 months, and it's at 30. And well, it started at like 3,700 a month, and now it's down to like 3,000 a month because I'm giving him a discount.
37. What is that rate? Holy cow.
Well, okay. Hey, all right. Well, it's a little different. He has, it's at $106 a day, but that includes insurance. So it's like 25 a day is what I
Oh,
charge
this is a
him. I
private.
I get it. Yeah, oh yeah. Okay, it's private. It's like
Okay.
$20 a day for me to get it. So it's truly like 80 after taxes, like because there's taxes and stuff, and I obviously don't make that. It's probably like 70 to 75 bucks a day take home. 30 days obviously straight for the past 5 months, maybe it's 4 months. And it's just, I mean, no end in sight, which is pretty crazy. But I gotta take a quick break. I'm gonna tell my team to get a car ready, and I'll be right back.
The life of a Turo host. I'm gonna bring up some of these in the meantime. Let's see. Financial anatomy. Hey, what's up? Um, Yikes, that must have been an experience. Well, what were you referring to? Which one? You mentioned a few. I don't know if it was the putting under the seat or the car being taken to Mexico. Let's see. Kayla, I'll bring this up now, and we can go over it again when Max comes back. Um, and yeah, financial anatomy says the putting under the seat. Yes. But again, and sorry, Kayla, I just want to mention again, that's one of those things that, you have to kind of balance. Like, yes, it's upsetting that you're left with that. They also had a little something in the front carpet, which is why I then ran and hurried up my rubber mat purchase. But it's one of those things where like you have to just kind of like, balance out like, hey, do I want this customer to come back? And it's not like anything was damaged. It was just, something that shouldn't be there, but it's not like they damaged the car. Um, so hello, Max.
Hey.
So I was just someone mentioned something about the pudding, so I was just
Oh, pudding.
touching up on that again. But Kayla says, wondering where you gathered all of your info to get into this. Any other additional materials or people you'd recommend looking into as well? I'm a bit of an over researcher. Yep, I hear that.
Let me think. I think what I created really has like the true like basic principles of like doing private rentals. Like it really gives you all of the information. I learned it on my own. I learned it on there's not really YouTube videos, so I like how did I learn it? There's some YouTube videos on like some things that don't really pertain to like private rentals in this sense, but I was able to find the information. A lot of it came from Justin, actually, EV Access, who was the comment earlier. He started long before I did, and he is just a whiz. He's super smart guy. So I'll just call him and ask him. He kind of has been the brains for a lot of my information. So I got to give him a ton of credit for that. And then I can't recommend anybody just because I haven't seen anybody else's material. There's like a couple other courses on private specifically, but I usually don't
Brendan do
recommend.
private? No,
No,
right?
not yet. We're
He
we're
stays
we're
away
yeah, we're kind of working on our process and um looking to go more private, like a lot. And then once we kind of dial ours in, we'll start talking to him. But yeah, I don't really have any recommendations. I just try to research the concepts individually and kind of put it together. And again, if you're missing something, I'm gonna put my comment in here. So reach out and I can absolutely add it. I think any piece of information you think that's missing, I'd absolutely love to add to the course that's been created already. I see some more
Yeah,
comments. Let's
awesome.
see
Let's
what else
bring
we
up
got.
Dominic says, if you leave 3 stars or less, they can't rent from you again, correct?
That
Is
sounds
that
right.
your experience?
That sounds right. I've heard that before. I haven't like tested that specifically, obviously, because if I guess if they would have tried to book, they couldn't have, and I would have known that. But that's what I've heard. So that's what I think.
We'll have to confirm that one. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're saying it is, then we'll take your word for it, but I
Um.
haven't read anything about it.
Yeah. Somebody asked about insurance. Maybe we'll pull that one up. Do we talk about it yet?
Let's see. Insurance. I don't see an insurance specifically. I do see.
About the Uber.
Here, let's bring. Oh, where'd you go? He left again.
Oh, I'm still in here.
Here, let's bring this one up real quick because it's. Um, I don't see insurance.
Um.
So,
It's the comment.
how
It's the
do you
comment.
deal?
Oh, that's a different one, but
Let's. Yeah, I don't. I'll look for this one while we're discussing this one because I don't see the insurance. Um, how do you deal with small, tiny dents or scratches, almost not noticeable, but definitely can tell? And how dirty can a car be before you charge a fee, or how do you go about it?
um. Small dents and scratches, there's nothing you can do pretty much on any policy. You're not going to get anything. So we just let it lie. And sometimes, actually, no, we don't even typically fix it. We'll sell it as is. And there's some times where people like we just sold a minivan and there's some scratches and like little dents and stuff. And I recommended him to somebody that could fix it. And I gave him a little bit of a discounted rate, not a ton, just because we don't. It just kind of is what it is. And then how dirty before you charge a fee? I mean, it doesn't really matter because like Turo is so strict on that. Like it's just so hard to get a cleaning fee. The only times we can charge is sand. So if there's a decent or excessive amount of sand, that's an automatic win pretty much. Stains more than a foot, which it's really hard to get. And I think they changed it now to like bodily fluids, which is absolutely ridiculous in my mind because like a normal person couldn't get stains out of a seat that are a foot, I mean, any size. Like for myself, if I didn't have the right tools, you can't really get stains out without like one of those vacuum things. And if you could get them out somehow, it just take a really, really excessively long time. So typically people will hire a detailer. So I think that's just ridiculous. And then the last thing is pet hair. So if we find the large stains, sand, or pet hair, like they're going to get charged. If there's just a bunch of shit in there, like just I don't even know how to describe it, just a bunch of like little things in there, like trash or Just looks like there's like pieces of hay or whatever. I mean, I've had cars where it just looks like there's kids kind of running in and out of there. You typically can't get it. Like they're so strict on it that I would say your
Gotten
success
really
rate, if you
strict
were,
about it.
yeah, if you were to put every car in for every car that you thought was in for cleaning to get charged for it, you probably have like a 10% success rate. Like it's very, very rare to actually get one of those.
Yeah,
It's
years
crazy.
ago, because I did it temporarily like a few years ago. Um, they used to be like you can charge people were charging 150, 250 cleaning fee, like all kinds of fees that people
Yeah.
were saying, it was so different. And now they've gotten so strict with it. But it's funny because
Yeah.
I've actually come across recently some profiles that are still saying you must bring the car back in exactly the same condition or you're going to be charged and I would just wonder like how are they and it has a lot of trips, so I just wonder, like,
Well,
how are they getting away with that?
to be fair, we take a piece of that. We don't say those exact words because you can't tell them that like, they're going to be charged for certain instances, unless you're very specific about it,
Oh,
which then
yeah,
you
I
can.
do that, but
Yeah, we
they
tell
say
them.
specific fee,
Yeah, that's I don't know.
like
I
you're gonna be
mean,
charged $250, and if
and it's funny because the fees are always wrong. Like the cleaning fee's 150, but they'll just make up. They'll say like 250 or 200,
yeah.
and it's funny because the CEO of Turo. Shoot. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
I can
lost you.
hear you.
I was getting calls. Um, the CEO talked about this specifically, and I thought it was hilarious because he said, what the hell is the deal with all these people that are sending these messages? Not in a mad way, kind of more in a funny way. But he's like, these people are just sending out messages saying, like, oh, if you bring my car back dirty, like I'm gonna charge you $500. And I think he said, like, what the F? Like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, that's not how it works here. And everybody kind of laughed, and it's true. I mean, it's like you can't just make up your own rules. I mean, here's the deal. Like when you with Turo, you follow their rules. Like there's no way to move around it. Like it just is what it is. But of course, the only exception, which is not in Turo, it's private rentals. Like there, you can do it. There, if you think a car should get a cleaning fee, like you can charge a cleaning fee. Your guest may be upset, which in any instance, smoking or cleaning, your guest is going to be upset, or any additional charge, they're going to be upset. But that's the only place you're going to have control to actually do something like that and make up your own fees and prices and stuff. And I mean, that's kind of the end goal, which I think not for everybody, because everybody or a lot of people like the idea of like having everything set up for them and they don't have to do anything. But for the people that do want to have more control, private rentals is, I mean, that's where you're going to get the control. Not those messages aren't going to do anything. And I think they're actually hilarious.
Yeah, I always wish that Turo would take more of like would do more of a structured, here's the wording for, for cleaning fees. Here's the wording for I think they leave way too much up to us, even though
Oh,
it's not up to
for
us.
sure.
Like
Oh, for sure.
so we
Yeah.
have all these, weird requirements and things, and yet at the end of the day, it's whatever they say and then whatever's in their terms of service anyway. So I think it's kind of silly that
Yeah.
they haven't just put some structure to like the descriptions or something like that. Like maybe just
Well,
you put a
yeah.
description on your car and your services and your, the little above and beyond that you do, but make certain other things just very cookie cutter. Because they are.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, they really don't. And they don't, I mean, they don't really tell us, like, there's no structure they have for us for anything. They have the structure for what happens if this and that, for them, but yeah, they really don't. And I wish they did. Like, it'd be cool if they had some sort of training
Makes it
manual,
easier.
or yeah, I mean, the because at the end of the day, the more successful we are, the more successful they're going to be. Obviously, because they take a cut from it. Um,
Yeah, I think like
so
there was one thing that back in the day I think used to drive me insane when I did it for a little bit. It was something about the gas. It was like, oh, do you want to charge the mileage or do you want it? And it's like, don't leave it up to me. Like if it was up to me, I'm horrible at like the sales part of things or like the nagging and asking people for. Yeah, it was
weird.
always like, yeah, it was. And so now they have it like a little more automated where you submit the invoice and you do, you do all that. But
Yeah.
before it was so you don't worry. I mean, there's really not much, especially because of the deductibles. There's not really much you could do with like scratches and dings that come, that the car comes back with. I
Even
mean, unless it's like
yeah.
clear, like
If it's like bad, if it's like a bad scratch or a pretty decently sized dent. If it's something like really small, you can try to go after them. There's instances where we have for sure, like big scratch, we'll charge them for like repaint, or like big dents, we'll charge them for like dent repair, and we'll get like a quote and
And
we'll
this is
send
through
it to them.
Turo, or are you saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, through Turo. I mean, ideally, we try to go through them as an individual, then we'll submit a claim through Turo. But
But
the
you go
problem
through, right?
is, yeah. And the problem
So there's
is,
one iffy thing on that I'm iffy on that. When you do go through them, like through Turo, it's a Turo reservation, and you go
Mhm.
directly to the guest. I know you have the 20 days to try to resolve it.
Yeah.
What has been your experience with the deductible? Because I've heard differing thoughts on that.
What do you
Like
mean?
if you, so let's say you have, $500 damage and you go straight to the guest to try to
Mhm.
resolve it before you go to Turo.
Mhm.
Are you trying to recoup everything? Is that the idea?
Um,
Are you able
oh
to?
yeah, for sure. I mean, but the thing is like they're either gonna pay or they're not, and you can't really control whether they like truly pay or not.
Right.
So that makes it kind of hard. But there's no like if you because you don't go through like Turo claims. I mean, you go through Turo claims, but you
Right,
don't
you
go.
contact the guest directly, and then you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
20
yeah,
days to contact the guest directly, and if
yeah,
not, then you
exactly.
have to tell Turo, otherwise it
Yeah,
expires, right?
yeah, but it's hit or miss. The ideal situation is you contact the guest, and this is for typically more damage, but I guess you could do with smaller things like this. Contact the guest, try to go through their insurance because that's the like most for sure way to go. You can get diminished value, you can get like the days that it missed, I forget the word for it, and then the cost to fix. The only possible problem is there's going to be deductible, so you could try to work with that. Second solution is working directly with the guest, and then third solution is I don't know, just try to go through Turo, and I don't know.
But if
I
you go
mean,
through
there's
Turo, then if you're on, like, on a 90/10 plan, you might as well, that's a
oh
$2,500 deductible.
yeah. So a lot of I mean, but a lot of the
So,
times you're gonna lose out because the guests just don't want to pay it. So there's gonna be a lot of it, and that's the thing about this business is there's times where you just kind of have to take the loss, and it sucks, but there's not really any solutions. I know one guy, I was just talking to him the other day, and for windshields when they cracked or got chips or something, he would put it through his personal insurance. And I was like, that's interesting. And then he told me that they dropped him. I was like, how many claims did you put in? And in the past, I don't know if it's 1 or 2 years, just for windshield specifically. That doesn't include all the other stuff that possibly he put on. He had like 10 windshield claims. I'm like, oh my gosh! Like, of course they're dropping you. I mean, if you put even a couple claims, I mean, it's crazy. You have to pay
I mean,
for
I'm
it, but
surprised they were
right,
even still on the policy.
yeah, yeah, but right when you start putting in claims, like they drop you. I mean, it's insurance is it's love hate relationship for
On that
sure.
note, let's bring up that insurance question.
Oh, here
Type
it
1
is.
production
Yeah.
says, "I'm curious, do you need a different type of insurance for a long-term Uber or rideshare rentals? And how are you marketing your rental cars for Uber?"
Great question. That's a really good question. So you don't, for us, we don't need specific insurance, but we also don't do rideshare specific. They are um, they are unlimited mile long-term rentals. We don't do leases because after 30 days you have to renew the contract or else it's a lease. And if you try to send an insurance company a 45-day rental contract, they're going to deny it. So it's just week to week, up to a month or month, then month and month contracts for unlimited mile long-term rentals. That's pretty much all it is. And typically you don't need different insurance unless you have primary insurance, which you shouldn't have if you're in the rental business, and I hope you don't. But marketing, we haven't done any marketing specific for rideshare. We tried to create a campaign. It wasn't very successful. It was kind of our first attempt at it. But what we found so far is there are rideshare Facebook groups. So going in those and messaging people, that has been successful for us. We've had success and we've gotten a couple people in cars. And then we are currently looking at ads. Our initial concept was, all right, let's run some Google ads because that's what we do for regular rentals, and it's been doing super well for us. But this is a little different, and we weren't able to find success right away. And I know we're gonna have to play with it more, but we have somebody coming in to help us with Facebook ads. So he's working with a company and he just runs Facebook video ads, and it's to fill out a form. And he says that, and I don't know how much everybody knows about marketing. I don't know a ton, but I compare it to what I have. He pays $5 per person to fill out a form interested in rideshare rentals, which is like, that's insane. That is crazy cheap to get somebody. I mean, I would expect to pay 50 for that specific, probably 25 to $50 per customer, like in and out the door. Um, so that's crazy. So we're gonna be working with him starting Monday. So I don't have a complete solution to that yet. I think with our regular Google ads, we just get natural people asking about it, which isn't like an end all solution. Facebook groups is a good solution, and then like Facebook groups, and then Facebook ads is
We lost you again.
hey, can you hear me?
Yes, he gets too many calls.
I know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So those are
So,
kind of those are my thoughts. But Facebook free, I do that. Facebook groups.
so did you ever get that insurance finalized with, the Uber through GMI? Is that did you had that added on to your
Hmm?
policy? Remember we had talked a while back
Oh,
about that.
so like I said, we're doing unlimited mile long-term rentals. We're not doing rideshare specific. And pretty much when I spoke to GMI, they kind of we both came to the consensus that um, we can't rent to somebody that's just doing Uber, but we can rent to somebody, and then whatever they do with the car is on them. That's why we don't have any Uber specific contracts. We just have long-term unlimited mile rentals at the moment. Oh, and last thought, actually, to marketing Uber rentals or rideshare, whatever, long-term unlimited mile rentals, ride Ubers. This was a suggestion from somebody, and we've been doing it, and we've seen some success. It's kind of slower and it costs money, but take Ubers around, like take it down the street, take it wherever. The more people you can talk to, the better, because a good amount of people that ride or drive for those programs rent, and so if you can talk to them, there's a lot of possibility there. I mean, you're getting direct to consumer. The only thing you have to watch out for, obviously, is cost and make sure it makes sense for you. But that's another alternative for people.
That's funny because that's exactly what Uber did. I saw the Uber documentary about how they got
Oh, I
started.
haven't
It's
seen
super
that.
interesting. It's a movie. Oh, it's a movie, I think,
Mm.
about like Uber and Lyft, and that's exactly they used to get in these cars. Um, and then the funny thing is the inspectors that wanted to like shut them down also would get in their car, and as soon as they were in the car, they would book a ride, and as soon as they were in there, they'd be like, "All right, well, here's your thing to shut down." And it was super interesting. You should check
Wow.
it out.
I've been
And then you
told
just
that. You're
reminded me.
the second or third person to tell me that. That's you got to check it out. Like, it's really good.
Yeah, you see the whole battle between Uber and Lyft, and they tried to buy
Mm.
Lyft, and they were about to, but the Uber guy was such a douche that the Lyft was like, you know what, forget it, and I mean, it was really interesting.
Who started first? Did Uber come first? I assume.
I think, I think it was, I think it was Uber. Lyft was a lot smaller. They were about to go down, so Uber was gonna purchase them, but
Uber
yeah, supposedly they were at
2009.
the table,
Oh,
and he was
Lyft
just
was
so like condescending to
wow.
them, and so they're like, you know what, forget it,
Jeez.
and they made it work.
I wonder what that would look like today if Uber and Lyft were to combine. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I'd think the biggest thing is probably obviously the network of drivers, but then the customer data, like how many customers that they have access to and that they can text or message or whatever through the app. Like, and how many people have downloaded the app and that have it and can get notifications. Like, that's
Like
what's worth
most
it.
people are on both anyway. Like, I mean, I
Yeah,
have
that's
both.
that's true. Yeah, I do too. I
There's like a
wonder.
big percentage it's both.
Yeah, I wonder if this is interesting. It probably wouldn't happen, but I wonder if Waymo, because Waymo's kind of like the next up and coming thing, and I see a lot of potential with it just because there's no cost for the drivers. Like that's probably one of Uber's or is Uber's biggest cost is the drivers. Um, but now, of course, they're going to have to run into mechanical issues. So instead of having to pay drivers, they're going to have to pay people to fix the cars when they get broken. But I wonder if Waymo would ever buy out either of those companies, or maybe even a smaller company that's trying to do a similar thing for the data, because they can't use the drivers, they can't use the cars. The only thing that'd be worth it for them is how many customers they've had in the past and how much data they'd have access to, which would be like a launch for them. I mean, they're very small now. They're only in, I think, 2 cities. I think it's Phoenix, and it's only in Phoenix. Like you can't go to North Scottsdale. You can't go to Mesa, which are cities in Arizona. You can only, it's a small bubble. So I think that they're doing, it's like a testing round or something right now. And it's in, I think, I want to say San Francisco or LA. Very small bubbles. I think
Yeah, I'm
they're,
looking at it now. I had never heard of it.
they're just doing I assume the big cities right now, and then once they have a proven product and a proven system, then they're gonna. I mean, like if you can do it in a busy city, you can do it in any city in the world practically. So I can imagine once they dial in their systems, they're gonna be worldwide for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know got data somehow to get that expansion going. I don't know what that'd look like. That'd be cool.
I'm gonna bring this one up because it kind of has to do a little bit with what we were talking about. How do you maintain a car that's been rented for that long if it needs oil changes and things like that during their trip?
Oh, that's a
Yeah,
really
so
good
I'm
question.
assuming it's a reference to like the 4 or 5 month trip.
So I have a couple answers for you. For the unlimited mile program that we do, obviously there's a ton of miles being put on these cars. That's something you guys have to understand. Is it's probably going to be between 4 and 6 thousand miles per month, which is like 60,000 miles a year, which is like 5 times the normal amount for an individual. So that's just insane. So our system right now is every 2 weeks. We have the driver come back every 2 weeks and we do a routine checkup. We'll check the oil, we'll check all the fluids and stuff, make sure there's nothing wrong. We'll change it typically at that point. We'll need an oil change or even at the 1 month mark. So after 2 checkups, we'll do it. And then we'll make sure everything else is working safely. You kind of need that. You don't want to have to solve problems as they come up. You want to kind of prevent the problems from happening. So that's a system that we have, and the solution, if let's say it needs an oil change or whatever, like we'll get it done there. We're not going to charge the customer because it's our car. If there's something that the customer did, we would charge them. But I guess we haven't ran into that yet. But another thing is we have one renter that's doing a super long. I mean, we just talked about it's like 4 or 5 months right now, and we would typically do like a every couple weeks or like a month check-in, but we haven't done a check-in yet. The reason being is this individual over these, couple months they've driven, I'd say 300 miles, 350.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's something where we could probably leave it a little bit and come back to it later, but probably once it hits a couple thousand, of course based on when we last serviced it or light comes on, yeah, we'll probably let it, that thing will ride for, it could be a year until like it hits it's the time where it needs an oil change. So we're gonna let that one go for a little bit.
Wow. And is
See what
this
other
that car that you mentioned? Are these the Priuses? Like the 2000, I think you said 2008 Prius or something that you got for
that
that?
one's not, but our unlimited mile program is all Priuses. So Gen 2, which is 2000, I think it's 5 to 13, but we have a 2008, a 2010, and a 2013. We're filling those up right now. We're almost done. Once we do, we're going to buy a handful more. And our concept right now is, instead of using the cash that we have, we're probably going to slowly sell the cars that aren't performing well on Turo. So we have like 4 or 5 that just, for the cost of them, they're just not making enough. So we're probably going to slowly kind of transfer that money, sell a car for 20 grand, buy 4 Priuses, sell a car for 30 grand, buy
What were
six
those?
Priuses. Huh?
Just throw those out there. I want to
Throw
throw
what
those
out there?
names out there of what those that aren't functioning for you. I know you made a video about
Oh,
it,
oh,
but I'm sure
oh.
people are just curious. And
Yeah, let
again,
me
this is
pull
very
up.
dependent on market. This may not be the case
So
for you.
this is so
This,
dependent on market.
but
Don't take what I say with a grain of salt on this
market,
one.
area, year,
Yeah,
the car year. I mean,
I'll
it's,
I'll tell you right now. So
but just curious.
my biggest ones that I don't like. are my Jeep. I have two Jeep Cherokees, and they cost 20 grand, and they only make like 1,000, 1,200 bucks a month, which to me isn't worth it. And the depreciation's a little scary on those. We sold off one Pacifica. We're selling off our Voyager, and that same thing. I mean, you're paying 20,000, 22,000, and the car makes anywhere from like 800 on like a crazy slow month, all the way up to like 1,700, but the average is like 11, 1,200. So it's just not worth it. All these cars that I'm mentioning is cost versus generating. Like that's the basis that I'm looking at. And then like minor thought and depreciation. Of course, maintenance on all these is very minor for us. Next car, this one we probably just shouldn't have bought. This was a bad buy for us. We have a 2020 Ford Fusion. That car, believe it or not, we paid 20 grand for. And it's like $1,000 a month. It's just not making what it could. And then the last one, the VW Tiguan's are amazing. We have 5 of those right now. We want to probably buy more as we go. The last one I would say is probably I mean, our Tahoe does really, really well. Like it's hitting close to the mark. I think it's at like 16, 1,700 bucks a month. But for me to have 30 grand, essentially about 30, 35 grand in one car, when I could buy like 6 or 7 Priuses, and the Tahoe, the best month it's probably going to do just like 3,500, maybe 4 grand. But if I have 6 Priuses, each making me $1,000 a month, and the maintenance is little to none. The Tahoe's been really good. I mean, don't get me wrong, we fixed like a small handful of
What
things.
year's your Tahoe?
It's a 2017. I would so much rather have. I mean, I guess I'd
When is
rather
that
have
making 3,500? Is that
March.
December?
Oh
Really?
no, 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 no. March it'll hit. Might even do better. That's just kind of a guesstimate. I mean, we just had a reservation. A guy booked for 4 days, and it was $800 for 5 days. Sorry, 5 days, 800. And that's for this weekend. So it'll hit it. I mean, there's no question. Right now we're like fully booked. So it could even get up to like 4 grand. I think we're coming right into season right now.
Yeah,
It's absolutely
I guess
bonkers.
because maybe I need to mess with my discounts a little bit because
Oh, discounts. You gotta do
I think
discounts.
mine has been averaging like 1,800 a month on that
Eighteen
Suburban.
hundred. Well, yeah, that's still pretty good. I mean, our average is probably let's see, let's see what our Tahoe's at. Tahoe did 1,600 last month. Um, it's hard to compare even me and you just because we do private with so many of these things. Actually, no, that's not true.
Yeah, that's
With
true
with
when you're
private,
saying
technically, we did 16, 17, 1,750. Last year Tahoe. Last year, yeah, December we did really good. We did 2,400 in December. Um, we did 1,400 in November, and then in August, September, and October, all were like 500. Those we actually were running into small mechanical things. Um, wow, we got it back up on the road pretty quick though. Um, but yeah, I'd say our average is probably close. I'd say close-ish to what you're doing. Maybe just a touch more.
I'm gonna
Um,
bring up this while you're looking for stuff. So Financial Anatomy, he's my buddy. He says so the star rating system is like Uber and Lyft then. Yeah, it's pretty much the riders and the drivers leave feedback
yeah,
for each other.
which I think is super cool. Like if they just left us reviews, that's great. I mean, you're looking at a business and you're seeing your potential and where you're getting into kind of. Um, but when you're renting or when you're reviewing people that are renting the cars, like now you get to see whether they're going to be good renters or not, and that's pretty cool. I like that they took that system. I guess they took it maybe from Uber and Lyft, and I know that a lot of them do stuff like that, but I think it's pretty cool.
Let's bring another one up here from him. He says, "Can you set a no pet policy as a Turo host?" So you
Mm,
can't they have pet friendly that you can select to let people know that you are okay with it, but then you also have the whole legal side of it, which is that you supposedly need to allow any service animals without their
yeah,
apparently they don't even have to tell you.
Oh,
I
really?
think they suggest. I think they suggest that they let you know, but we have to allow it. So it's just
Wow.
one of those. Although I think probably guess just to be safe, they'll probably just look for pet friendly. I mean, I know I've done like we talked about last time. I know I've done a few um where they ask me and I say sure. And so I'm right now what I'm trying to figure out is how much to charge for like a pet fee. Like yeah, sure you can oh, oh no. Did we really? Today has not been good with these. That's no, it's you. You guys can still hear me, right? One day we'll have no tech issues. Um, you can hear me.
Ah, back.
You're
I
gonna
don't know
have
what's
to
going
like
on.
I think it's
Uh,
every time you get like a missed call or something, it
oh,
switches the yeah, because you're
yeah.
on your phone, right? Yeah. So
Dang, that's crazy. Uh,
Um, yeah, so I actually recently I purchased one of these huge car seat covers. I used to have this other thing, but I purchased like a specific car seat that covers the entire area. Like the last trip I had, they
that's
actually
smart.
had two dogs in the car.
Oh,
And I
you told
said,
me
"Hey,
about that.
I'm
Yeah.
going to I'm going to give you this seat." So I'm trying to figure out like what's a good pet fee to charge that maybe like $50 or something is what I'm thinking. It's like
Mhm.
and this includes me giving you this like car protection that you're going to put on there but if there is a significant amount of like, there still needs to be like no hair, no pet odor because that takes a lot to get rid of.
Yeah.
Um,
I can't imagine
so yeah.
traveling with pets is tough. We just my fiance and I just did a little road trip and we went to a hotel and the pet fee was like it's like
Mhm.
$100 for and we stayed for one night. Like we're just passing through the town and it was $100. We got there at like 9 p.m. at night, left at probably 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. It's just crazy. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, but I get it.
Yeah,
I
it's
get
like
it.
50
I
bucks a
get it.
night.
Yeah,
50 to
I
yeah.
get it. Cause like, I mean, if the dog barks or if there's pet hair, if the dog they use the restroom, I'm sure there's a cleaning fee if they do that. But I guess I get it. And then at cars too, like pet hair will not come out of seats. We have these VW Tiguan's. I absolutely love them. But if dog hair gets on those seats and they're like they're cloth, they will not come out. Like it is crazy. You can go after it for hours. It's just like it's so stuck. It just like
Yeah.
weaves into the material. So I get it. That's smart. But you're doing it right. Like the people that are just like setting it up, it's like, oh yeah, pets can, come and here's the fee and not doing anything. But to have the protection, like have the thing, I think that's the way I would do it if I was going to allow pets. But we actually have it in our description because we're not like you're technically not allowed to have pets on Turo unless I guess you have the pet thing. We say no pets on all of our descriptions. We say no pets allowed, but some people
Yeah,
still
there's
do
a
it.
lot of people that do. And so I'm sure that the people that have even the ones that have the service dogs that know they can go into any car, I'm sure they still try to find like, pet friendly just so they don't have to deal with, any drama from the host or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's been, so far and again, it's also the type of car, like, it's a big car, people go, camping, they go, with their, 6 family members and they take everything, so it's kind of like, expected that they're gonna have, they're gonna probably wanna have more pets on those type of cars than others. And he's gone again. I just wonder how many comments we're gonna have about this.
Did you say Andy's gone after I left?
I what? Huh?
Did you say I was watching the live? Did you say Andy's gone after I left?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Let's take
Oh,
a let's take a bet as to how many comments you're gonna have.
oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't want to know. I hope they don't. Maybe they won't watch it far enough in to see it.
Guys, Max is tired. He's working. Give him a
Uh,
break.
My headphones.
So let's bring up. So Kayla says, "How do you guys manage knowing what cars are checked in? Is there like an easy way to have a macro view of this in the Turo app? I'd imagine as you scale, this could be a beast to manage."
Oh my gosh, it sucks. We don't have a solution for it yet. Like we'll go in every day and you have a solution for it?
Well,
Really?
yeah. I mean, so
Oh,
what? Okay, what do you do now? Like, how do you?
we have to manually go in like towards the. I'll look in the morning because we'll have like 60, 70, 80 reservations that will like come in and out. I mean, probably up to 100 that like come in and go out. Maybe not 100, maybe 100 success. Maybe like 60, 70, or 80. But like that's a lot. Like there's so many reservations and it's so hard for the team to like they're checking in like 10 cars or 5 cars at once and they're checking out like 5 cars. So it's very, very, very hard at this scale to make sure that we check in and out every car. Check in, like for sure. We check in every single car. I think since I've been here the past like 2 month and a half, we missed maybe one, which was just like a stupid mistake that we made. But check out is kind of a different story. And I kind of just check it every once in a while, but we have missed like a couple of those and we don't right now. We like do not have a system in place, which Toro needs to have this. This would save, like for us, this would be like probably the biggest thing that they can currently add is to see whether it's checked in and out. My comment on that though is the guy that commented early, EV Access Justin, I've done interviews with. He has a system for it, and it's pretty interesting. It's like this. I don't know what it's built on. Maybe a sauna or something. I don't know much about tech and software, but it has this thing that shows all the reservations and then they check it off, so they can see what was done. But it's an interesting dashboard, and um, it's I don't know. It's a hard one. What do you have? What's your solution for it, Yuly?
Yeah, so what I've started building in so my idea is like right now the first page, you see sort of what Turo shows you in the trips, your upcoming trips, but
Mhm.
I made it to where it shows first of all it gives you, I mean, in my case, because you have a certain amount of cars. In your case, it's going to be a little different because you have so many cars. But basically it just says, a countdown like, hey, you have a day for these 3 cars. You have one day to go before this car has to go. Um, it shows, like what are you? So it basically the right now it's a little different, but eventually what it will have is basically I want to see what tasks are there for me to do. And if, for example, the person in your case, the person who's washing your cars would be able to pull up the app and just see his view. He doesn't need to know that he has to submit a toll expense invoice because he doesn't do that. He only needs to see that, hey, these cars have to get washed today. These cars
Mhm.
have to go get picked up. These cars have to go. So basically, it's, they would just have on their first page just a checklist of like all of their tasks that they need to do. So the first one is, okay, what car goes out at, let's say, 8 in the morning? So that's what they have listed first, wash car. They click into it. You can then even do like a sub list of like, did you check all of your like typical things that you got to check to make sure you don't forget, like checking the oil, checking, whatever it is that you do in your process. He would just be able to check it off. Like I did the check, I put gas on it, I delivered it, I did the check-in. So you basically just have check boxes in the app.
Could you do stuff for maintenance too?
So I for maintenance, same thing. I've started setting up an area where you basically put in like, okay, what mileage do you want to be alerted? For example, for oil changes. So yeah, and it would show you. So
Wow.
same thing. It would be like
Wow.
it would show up like, okay, this car's due for oil. So I mean, and it's not hard. You're basically just pulling data from that you already have into a view that's easy to read. Like for example, right now, one of the big things I wanted to see is I want to see if all of my upcoming trips. I want to see um what is it? Is it a pickup? Is it a drop off? What location? What airport? What I like to I for now, I'm still telling them where to drop off, like what garage to drop it off in because, depending on where they are, yeah, I still do it because I'm small enough. Eventually I'll have to get rid of that. Um, but and then I also want to see like right there in that reservation, I want to see how many days it's going for. So it tells me, okay, this is an 18-day trip. So I know like, okay, it's gonna be gone for 18 days. And then I also want to see if there's any extras I need to make sure to have ready and add it into that car.
That's smart.
But then I'm also incorporating things like the maintenance, and then I'm also adding things
That's huge.
like for example, hey, if that trip is missing the gas receipt, not the one that we're gonna not the fee that we're gonna recoup from the guest, but just
Mhm.
our fee, like the fee, the gas that we put in just to get the car to full, because we need to keep track of that. So it'll tell me like, hey, you haven't added your receipt. It'll tell me, hey, your tolls, you haven't submitted for tolls. So basically just pulling in all that and just showing it into a little to-do list, and only by whoever the user that's signed in is. So like if the person that handles check-ins, they would only see check-in tasks. The person that handles like the admin person would handle all the tolls, submissions, the reimbursements, things like that. The people that are checking in and checking out cars would only see that stuff. So yeah, because I mean I can't imagine like growing and not having that in place. I
Yeah.
just
Wow.
I
I'm
I mean
like
I
I'm daydreaming over here. My goodness. That sounds pretty good. That's the thing is like again there's you can be so innovative when you grow, but like there's so many things that could be so useful. Like the stuff that you're telling me about, I'm like this would be like all this stuff would be so helpful. I mean, each one of these would save us time. It would probably make us more money. I don't know. I mean, there's so many variations to all innovation, but yeah, this stuff all
Yeah, the
sounds
more you can streamline anything and make it less, make it so that there's less user error, less room for user error,
100%.
speed up the things. You don't have to think. The less you have to think, the more you could just do. Like one idea that I have for eventually when you have a really big fleet is, putting like a barcode on your car. So basically, which is kind of like what Hertz and these big companies have, where now you just get in there to drop off the car and they basically just scan your with their little machine, which in our case would just be the phone. They scan the barcode on the car, and now they know which car the reservation pops up, and you're just like, okay, yeah, it looks good, it's been dropped off, there's no damage, take the pictures and it's done.
Mm,
But you linked it already, you don't even have to find it, you just scan the thing and it links it right up to the reservation. Yeah, I
interesting.
mean definitely I mean, I've been able to build now that I've had no full-time position job.
Yeah.
I've been able to do more on that app in the past like week that I've done in like 6 months because of, just the time. So, and that's definitely something that like, I can't even imagine having like 5 cars or 10, maybe probably 10 without having like the full blown, thing.
That's,
Cause
I
like
have
right now I'm using it,
yeah,
even though it's like being worked,
built.
it's so yeah.
That's crazy. Let's do maybe one more comment. I keep calling me.
Let's see. I mostly says, does HQ Rentals also set up a website for you and integrate the software? I want to go private, but it seems like so daunting with the website.
That's it. You got it. You're right. hmm Integrates. They'll integrate it for you. There's a setup cost for them setting the whole thing. Do it. It cost me. Well, here's how I did it. They told me how much it was going to cost me. They said like 600 or $700, and I said no, I don't want to do that. And then they called me like a week or two later, like, well, you know what? We're doing a discount right now, and we're going to do it for 200. I said, all right, let's. How do I get started? And so best $200, probably one of the best $200 I've ever spent. They set it up, and like it probably took them like a week and a half, but it's a lot. Well, obviously to integrate it into the website, I don't even know how to start to even think to do that. But like doing all the different like because I set up the cars myself. Now I could send it to them, but it's probably just easier for me to learn how to do it myself. But like it's a process. So to pay somebody to set up 20 cars or however many we had at the time was probably like 15 or 16. Oh, it's so worth it. The $200 was so worth it. I mean, I saved probably just on setting up the cars and like the interface and like the extras and stuff like that, I probably saved like 5 or 10 hours. But on like the integration into the website, I don't know how long that takes. So I can't even imagine. So as a huge time saver. There's one more question about private that we should probably bring up. I'm
Yeah,
curious.
we'll do that last one. And Kayla says, Yuli, got us in that app. I know I'm trying.
I know. Everyone's so excited.
She says,
Sweet.
That's fantastic, Yuly. Yeah, I'm gonna be showing some of it. I just hadn't had. I also have to like work with the fact that then I have to like remove certain private data when I'm going to do the video. So there's so many little working parts. But yeah, I've definitely been trying to get it done faster.
Sweet.
Let's bring up this last question. C Laws M says best way to promote private car rentals. Also, do you have insurance business you recommend for RCP? The $25 additional per day scares off a lot of my long-term renters.
Best way to promote. I mean, the quickest way to promote private rentals is Google Ads. Like that's direct to customer. You're getting customers day one essentially if you set them up right. So that's the route I would go, and don't just jump into it and start spending like a couple $100 a day. You kind of have to ease into it. Like right now, we're probably spending 100 to 150 bucks a day just because we've dialed in our marketing and stuff. But to start, I think we started at like 20 bucks a day, 15 bucks a day. Google Ads, I think, is probably going to be your quickest return. And then recommend for RCP, it's called Coverage Connect. I can put the website. Well, actually, the website is directly to our portal. Reach out to me. I'll put my email. I can get you connected with one of the people that do it. And yes, you're right. $25 a day does scare some people, but every part in the vetting process scares people. Like you're not gonna have 100% retention. You're gonna lose people as you vet them. So we only accept major debit or credit cards. You just lost 20% of your people. Here's the price. You probably just lost another 30 or 40% unless you're really, really willing to work on pricing and beat Hertz and Enterprise, which is very hard to do at times when they're charging like $28 to $30 a day. You have to be over 21. Boom, you just lost probably 5-10%, probably 3 to 5% of your customers. Are you traveling locally and not doing one way? Boom, you just lost another 5% of your customers. There's a couple other questions that we ask, but that's just how it is. Like every piece that you have in your vetting process eliminates a portion. But the great thing is at the end of your vetting process, at least for us, we get really high quality people. So the people that are renting from us, they're almost never smoking in it. They bring it back with great miles. They're long-term rentals a lot of the time, and just really high-quality customers. But you're right, you could charge cost on that stuff. But no matter what, people are always going to be like, "Oh, that's too." I don't have any other solutions other than them getting their own policy, which typically like they can't because they don't have a car. An alternative is, hey, do you have any friends or family that own a car and are on a policy, and can you get added as an insured driver? And if it's full coverage and extends rentals, that's completely fine. And essentially the same thing as them having their own car, their own policy works the same way. So though those are my thoughts, but typically we don't take like rental insurance. Like if somebody goes to Alliance and gets rental insurance and brings that to me, I say no because Alliance, they don't vet. Like they don't have any sort of vetting system to my knowledge. But when you go to Liberty Mutual or you go to Geico, like when you go to those places, they vet. Like they really vet their customers, and that's why you hear people that don't have any insurance is because they can get so expensive when people have accidents or they have problems with the record. So that's really important. What was my last? I had one more comment on that. Oh, some people may not know about this. I think it's called RC22. There's a special type of insurance. Again, I think it's RC22. It's where if somebody has a DUI on their record, they legally by the state or government in some way have to get this type of insurance. If they get this, I would watch out. If you see RC22 anywhere on their insurance, be very cautious. Typically, they can only get up to liability insurance. I don't know why. I don't really know how it works 100%. But just be very cautious. We don't accept RC22. We have people that'll call and say, hey, we have RC22 insurance. I'll tend to forget because I haven't heard about it in a long time. So I'll relook it up and this is what I think it is. And then I realize that it's DUI and then we don't take it. So yeah, insurance is hard, but you just have to be kind of careful and, take the right steps and vetting and stuff.
All right, so I'm gonna bring this last one up. So Kayla says, "Happy to help test if you need someone." Yeah, sure,
Oh,
awesome. That would be awesome. Reach out. And since you said, how many are you? I'm assuming you're currently a host. How many cars do you have? And I'm just curious. We have about almost like 20 people. it'd be awesome if you guys like just real quick put in like if you're a current host, and like if so, how many cars you have,
Yeah,
or
let's see
if
who has
you're
the
just
most. Let's see who has the
wanting to
most
get into
cars
it.
in
Just
the.
curious.
Yeah, let's see who has the most cars in the chat. If anybody comments.
Let's see. Thanks. Silos says, and hi mostly said, thank you. You're welcome.
Oh, and I just put my email. I just put my email in my live. So for anybody that wants to reach out or needs anything, just shoot me an email. I'm gonna put it in your chat too.
Yep, and I just brought it up.
Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, somebody has
Cool.
5.
So rose-colored glasses says,
the next couple
hey,
months.
wanting to get into it. Silos M says
Silos,
5.
yeah, Miss 5.
Entering bad zone. Awesome info, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Kayla says, I'm currently at 5, looking to scale to 15 in the next couple months if I can handle it. Awesome.
Just do your research on the cars.
Inspiring.
Cool. What?
Very inspirational. Maybe it'll
Yeah.
push me to hurry up and do mine.
All
But
in time.
definitely, yeah, definitely.
Patience.
Yeah, definitely let's get in contact because I could definitely use a few people. I mean, I hadn't gotten to the point where I can, because it's easier when it's me, it's my cars, it's my data, and I'm like kind of like just all over the place with it, and I'm testing and tweaking. But definitely, I know it's Max and I had talked about like working on it together. So yeah, definitely a few people that can join in, that would be helpful. Same thing with like a dashboard. Like right now, that I already have. I just kind of have to package it in a way to like show it. But just basically same thing. It goes from that database that I talked about earlier into like just a dashboard that you can clearly see, all your numbers in one nice, pretty. And it's not, you could either just have the dashboard or you can now pull it from the database, the app database, into the dashboard. You can have, however way you want, but it's something else I'm working on. So yeah, it'd be awesome to have some people like to bounce ideas off of. I mostly says 4, adding the 5th, possible 6 with co-host next week. Awesome.
Nice. Somebody has 8.
Alex says 1. All right. I mostly says Apollo Beach, Florida. Wow, I'm in Florida. I've never heard of that. See, and I always thought like that these markets, I'm like, oh, these smaller markets probably. And then you hear all these people doing great in like these smaller places. I mean, I don't know how big or small Apollo Beach is, but I should probably know. But like that one guy we talked about in Kentucky, I think he's in some weird town. And then
Small
I
town.
mean it's like everywhere. I DFM 8. Wow, this is awesome. Did you wanna? Now we have a few more questions. We got Atlanta, Georgia.
Let me take a quick look. Do you have a clause limiting distance? Oh yeah, for sure. Interesting. I never thought about out of coverage area, like saying that if you go to this specific place that they no longer have coverage. That's a good thought. I've honestly never thought about that. But we do tell people no out of country, and we have very specific guidelines about like not being able to go into Mexico specifically. Canada, like there's probably no way that they're going to get to Canada from here. It's just so far. But Mexico is like it's happened. And we have very specific clauses. We had the only person that's gone into Mexico and didn't. Well, people will typically tell you, like they'll ask you if they can go to Mexico. But we had one person say they're traveling locally. It's usually the story when they do it, and they said, "Yeah, I just need a car. My car broke down." I'm like, "All right, yeah, no worries. We got it. We got the individual car, and it shot straight down to Mexico." But not like people will traffic drugs and people and stuff here, and they don't go into Mexico. They'll stay on the bordering towns. But this individual went into Mexico. They went to like a resort. They did all that stuff, and they had some penalties when they came back because we don't allow people out of the country, obviously. But I don't know. It happens. But this is smart. I'm probably going to do this. Add a coverage area. So if they do buy insurance when they leave the country, our insurance is no longer active with them, and then they'll probably just have
Yeah,
to
this
pay
is
out
kind of
of pocket.
similar. It says just starting in Georgia, but have concerns about recovering a car that is exceptionally far away. But you've had a story like that where Turo typically steps in and takes care of it, and then they bill it to the right.
Yeah, we've had one
Or was it?
we've had one get towed from a really far place. It was in, I don't remember what state, but it was like 1,000 miles away ish. It's really
I know
far.
you interviewed someone that had it from Vegas. I can't remember who, but
I don't know,
they were
but
like, yeah.
yeah. So this person though, it is their fault. They rented it. They noticed transmission problems about 2 hours north. Maybe it's a little farther, but 3 hours north, let's say. And they told us, and we said, okay, please stop driving the vehicle. Like, we need to get this checked out immediately. This is not something that we want to mess with. So, whatever. So they took it to a shop in the area they wanted to, and the person said, yeah, this transmission's shot. Pretty much, it's done. So they proceeded to get the car back and drive it north up to 1,000 miles away with pretty much a blown transmission. And then we had to get a tow back from Turo. I can't imagine doing this privately. I'd probably just hire a tow truck company. This one would be tough though, because you could try to charge the customer, but chances are they may not have the funds in their wallet or whatever. So you could take them to either small claims court, or you could just eat it, which would probably be what would happen. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Like the amount
That's
of
in the
times you
private
have to
side.
tow stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about that. That's the least of my worries right now. I wouldn't focus too much. Nice.
Sila says, I have
Auctions are great.
auction access. I'm a
Mhm.
dealer and have
Auctions.
access to cash cars and auctions. Awesome. That's how Max
Auctions are
gets all
great.
his cars.
Almost all of them. Yeah. Um,
Kayla says,
cool.
absolutely, we'll connect. We got DFAM in Atlanta. And Daytona guy says Apollo Beach is outside Tampa. Thanks.
Good to know.
Now I know.
Cool. Well, I
All
appreciate
right.
everybody. I appreciate everybody joining. Thanks for everybody being here. And back in our.
It'd be awesome if everybody hits that thumbs up.
Oh yeah.
It's so funny because I totally forget that we should be doing all these, all these
Uh,
things.
Thumbs up, subscribe,
Yeah, if you guys
everybody.
like and just make sure if you're not subscribed to like each of our channels, please make sure to do so. I know
Yeah,
I
for
haven't
sure.
posted in a while. I promise I will catch up to Max at some point. Max makes up for his like audio and video issues with giving you tons of constant
Uh,
content and
I'm
awesome
working on it.
videos. So
I'm working on it. My audio now is so much better than what it was. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Way better.
Way
I'm
Better
working
Slot
on it.
says, appreciate all the videos and information. You've really been a big help for me getting started. Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear.
Sweet.
All right, guys. Well, again, make sure to please subscribe to both of our channels if you haven't yet, and to hit the like button if you haven't already. And hopefully we can do this again next week.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for
definitely
sure. We're getting back in the
be
groove.
on the lookout for any awesome for any of our videos in between from now to then. And if not, we'll see you hopefully next week.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys. We'll talk soon. See you soon.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.